When I eat a whole thing of Oreos, I ain't gonna tell you what the next day looks like, especially in the morning. It's like, I don't know. What is up, it's your boy Johnny Shreve, IFBB promos at Tell Like It Is. I'm about to put myself out of business with this free advice. It is 2025 and most of you want to lose some fat. And maybe some of you have already put on some muscle and you don't want to lose that muscle while burning fat. Well, today I'm going to break it down on how to lose fat while sustaining the muscle or even building muscle. Let's get into it. When it comes to losing fat, we have to understand the very basics of how to lose fat. And you've probably heard it before if you're new to the channel or new to these concepts. It is a calories in versus calories out thing. You have to be in a caloric deficit to lose fat. What does that mean? It just means you need to eat less food and do more exercise. That's simple. If I want to lose fat, I want to eat less food and do more exercise. And if I want to put on weight, then I have to eat more food and do less exercise. Now, when it comes down to it, putting on muscle. Now, for most of you guys, you'd be like, how do you lose muscle? I get this question all the time in consults. Hey, Johnny, should I lose fat first and then build muscle? Or should I build muscle first and then lose fat? The answer is do them both at the same time. And I get it. Traditionally, most of you guys probably heard if you want to put on muscle, you need to be in a caloric surplus. And then when that happens, you do too much of a bulk and you put on more fat than muscle, then you're back at January 1st again trying to lose fat. Here's how it works. Yes, for sure, you need to be in some kind of a surplus or even maintenance to put on muscle. But in certain conditions, you can build muscle while being in a caloric deficit. If you already have a lot of fat in your body and or you're a beginner, period. That's basically it. Now, when it comes down to it, let's make sure we have some key components to make sure we can actually sustain the muscle or even build muscle. Number one, it's protein. Making sure that we're getting enough protein in our body. What does that look like? Very simple. 1 grams of protein per body weight. What does that look like? I'm 210 pounds. I'm gonna eat 210 grams of protein. Now, does that mean I'm 210 pounds of lean, absolutely hunk of chocolate muscle? No, I'm probably more like maybe 180. But what it does is it covers all the basics for my body to make sure that I'm getting enough protein for it to use to do the important things, and then having enough to make sure that I can sustain the muscle that I have or even build muscle. Now, since we're going to be in a deficit, we don't want to be in this extreme deficit either, but making sure we're having enough, eating enough fiber will help with the feeling of being hungry. So eating enough protein and fiber, I would say maybe like 30 to 35 grams of fiber for a man and around 20-25 grams of fiber for a woman. That'll keep you more satiated being in a deficit. And then making sure that we're still eating carbs. Do not just cut out carbs because someone said that if I cut out carbs, I'm gonna lose fat, which is true if it's the entire amount of calories that you're decreasing. But when it comes down to it, it's not about just cutting carbs, it's about decreasing your calories. You can still eat carbs in a deficit and lose fat. Now, here's the next thing we need to understand. We wanna make sure that we're actually training hard. Progressive overload. We wanna keep challenging the muscle. What does that mean? That means, like, let's just say I'm going to the gym and I'm lifting 100 pounds of whatever, who cares? I'm lifting 100 pounds, right? And I'm doing 100 pounds and I get 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps. And on a week-to-week basis, that 10 to 12 reps, that next week I'm doing now 11 reps of all 3 sets. Then I'm doing 12 reps of all 3 sets. And then all of a sudden I'm adding weight. You want to make sure that on a week-to-week basis that you're getting stronger in some way, shape, or form, meaning it's probably gonna be reps first and then adding weight. Progressive overload, making sure that we're training hard enough to stimulate muscle growth. That's gonna help with sustaining muscle and or building muscle. All right, now let's talk about some nutritional strategies for fat loss and muscle retention. Now, how do we lose fat? How do we know how to be in a caloric deficit? Well, the only way we're gonna be able to do that is by finding our caloric maintenance. What is maintenance? It's basically the amount of food you're eating that your body fat isn't going up or down, right? Whatever you're eating in a day, it's sustaining your body weight. Let's use me for example. In the last month, I've been around 210 to 215 pounds. My body weight hasn't really done much of all. It hasn't been lower than 210 pounds. It hasn't been much higher than 215 pounds. The food that I consume in a day is sustaining all the things that I'm doing. My total daily energy expenditure, all the things that I'm doing in a day, plus all my naturally body functions are being sustained by the food that I'm eating, not letting me gain weight or lose weight. That would be your maintenance. Now, in order for us to lose fat or weight, but in this case we want to lose fat, we need to be in a deficit, which means we need to be eating less than maintenance. If I eat less in maintenance, guess what? I'm no longer maintaining the weight I am. I'm gonna start losing fat. Now we wanna do something like around, I don't know, 10 to 20% of a deficit of maintenance. Now you can do a couple things. There's my 10, 13, 15 rule. 10 times your body weight in calories, 15 times your body weight in calories would give you maintenance. 13 times your body weight in calories would give you a good deficit, and then 10 times your body weight in calories would be an extreme deficit. Now here's a couple things you can do to find your maintenance. Number one, track the intake of food for 7 days. It would be the most accurate method. You can go on some calorie calculator and type it in, I'm 210 pounds and I'm doing 7 days a week of exercise, and it's gonna spit out some number, and maybe it might be right, but the most accurate way to do it, track your food for 7 days straight. Here's how you can do it seamlessly with my actual app. I got a 7-day trial, $25 a month, and you'll be able to do this on my app and so much more when it comes to training plans, recipes, and so much more. Super simple. Click a link in the description below, download my app. You're gonna download the app, use a built-in diary to log your food and what you drink. It automatically calculates your calories, macros, and even your training expenditure. So it gives you an idea of how much you're actually eating for the week. You're gonna weigh yourself every morning under the same conditions. After using the bathroom, before you're drinking, before you're eating, make sure it's the exact same every single morning. You're gonna check the app summary for your average caloric intake over the week and observe your weight trends. If your weight stays the same, that's your maintenance. If you gain weight, adjust your intake slightly down in the app to find your maintenance. If you start losing weight, increase your calories slightly to make sure we retest it, right? If you want, you can continue just to be in that deficit, but if you want to do it accurately to make sure we know where maintenance is, this will give us a better understanding of a starting point for us. And the best thing about it, it's actually free for 7 days. So you can use it to track your calories, log your food, even take your check-in pictures to make sure that you're doing this entirely. So make sure you're doing this process accurately. Now, when we find our maintenance, again, we're gonna be in that 10 to 20% deficit. You're gonna be in about a 10 to 20% deficit, or you can do the easy thing I said and just go 13 times your body weight in calories. Now, when it comes to it, nutrition timing is important. Now, when I talk about nutrition timing being important, I don't mean that as soon as you're done working out, you're gonna run and make sure you get your 30-minute window of protein shake in. It just means that you wanna eat 3 to 5 meals of protein to optimize muscle protein synthesis. Your pre and post workout, you're gonna make sure you're eating a good amount of protein and some easy digestible carbs. It could be like rice, potatoes, banana, whatever, right? Make sure we're getting enough protein and carbs to fuel ourselves before and after you work out. This is just gonna make the entire process better. Again, if you're in a deficit, what you don't wanna do is not eat any food, because at the end of the day, when you decide, I'm gonna eat now, I'm gonna save all my calories for later, guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna eat way too much. And then there goes this entire thing. Now, when it comes down to it, quality food does matter. Again, like I said, you can diet if you want to and eat junk food the entire time, but guess what's gonna happen? Those extremely high palatable foods, they're just gonna make you more hungry for more palatable foods. Now, I'm not saying that your healthy foods are boring, but when it comes down to it, there's a reason why people go to Wendy's, McDonald's, and all those other places. It's because the food is delicious. They fill it with salt and sugars and everything, and just makes you want to eat more. So we want to make sure that the food we're eating is quality. What does quality mean? Quality means that we're getting the right amount of nutrients for our body so it can run properly and more optimally. What does that mean? It means our brains get enough nutrients to be able to think straight and properly and basically run as it should. Our digestive system is working the way it should and not being backed up. Trust me, when I eat a whole thing of Oreos, I ain't gonna tell you what the next day looks like, especially in the morning. It's like, I don't know. Either way, that's the importance of eating quality food. 2, it's gonna keep us more satiated, right? When you look at it, if I'm eating enough protein and fiber, protein is gonna keep me satiated, fiber is gonna keep me more full and satiated, plus it's gonna help with like digestion. And then again, when it comes to like carbs, we're not eating junk carbs that are just gonna make us crave more carbs. So make sure that we're eating quality foods. What does that look like? Lean proteins, chicken, fish, lean beefs, eggs. What do fats look like? Avocados, nuts or nut butters, vegetable oils. And then carbs, oats, rice, potatoes, even pasta, right? As long as we're eating those things all together, it's gonna make it better for us. Now, when it comes down to it, we can use some balanced plate eating techniques. You wanna make sure that 2/3 of the plate are your proteins and your grains, and then the rest of your plate looks like your greens. Perfect. Make it like that every meal and you're completely fine. Now, when it comes to training, this is non-negotiable. Prioritize training hard. What is that going to do? It's going to stimulate muscle growth. Now, and then training hard too, you'll burn a little more calories. If you train lazy, you're going to be in the gym and you might get a good pump here and there, but we want to maximize muscle growth, muscle stimulus, and calorie burn. We're trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But again, remember this, the training we're doing is to prioritize muscle gain. You can definitely, if you want to, make your training a little more of a calorie burn by, having shorter rest times or even doing like supersets or drop sets, etc. But when it comes comes down to it, make sure you're training hard. Now, if you're a beginner and you're starting a new year, new me thing, that's fine. Prioritize lifting properly. Prioritize is making sure you're moving weight properly and feeling the muscle. And then when it comes to how many times you go to the gym, what's your split? You don't have to go 6 days a week. Start off doing 3 days a week first, just getting a hang of things, understanding how to actually lift weight first, and then scale up from there. If you're a beginner and you decide to go to the gym 5-6 days a week, you're gonna have a really great week. You have an awesome week. The week after, you're gonna feel absolute garbage. Why? Because it's probably gonna be your first time understanding what DOMS is. And if you say, what's DOMS? Exactly. Now, if you're an intermediate lifter to advanced, incorporating the right split that works for you. Again, your split is gonna be the split that you can actually commit to. When within that split, you're training hard. You're training hard, you can incorporate like drop sets and supersets, giant sets, whatever it is, but making sure we're prioritizing training hard. Again, pushing for progressive overload. You don't have to train all the way to failure, but for the most part, people aren't training as hard, so train as hard as you possibly can to the best of your ability. You should be leaving the gym being like, I did enough. If you leave the gym like, man, I could have been there longer, or you're in the gym for 2 hours, I don't know what you're doing, but you're not training hard enough. If you're training super hard, as hard as you can, efficiently, you should be in and out of there in about an hour, 50 minutes, hour and a half. Tops. That's like warming up, changing, training, and then maybe the odd text here and there. Now when it comes to cardio, cardio is quintessential for this entire process. It is. It all works. Again, cardio is one of those things we want to make good cardio habits. Why? Because it's going to help us burn a lot of fat. Again, when it comes down to the grand scheme of things, you're only doing training and cardio for a very small portion of the day. In a full 24-hour day, you're only training about this much, and that's how many calories you'll be burning. But again, when it comes down to it, your cardio is going to be burning the most amount of calories in terms of your exercise. Again, if you're a beginner, you're not going to go and jump on the treadmill and be doing 5 days a week of cardio. You're just not. We need to build up to those habits. So again, when it comes down to it, start off doing 3 times a week, 20 minutes to start. And then as you get used to it and as your body gets acclimated to doing the cardio and maybe not getting bored, then start adding more minutes to that 3 days a week. And when you've kind of like maxed those minutes out, say like when you get to 30 minutes, add another day. Intermediate to advanced, push it. Do what you can, right? I always kind of call like cardio blitz. What is a cardio blitz? Cardio blitz is this. You're gonna do as much cardio as you possibly can for the first month that you're doing this. When I talk about doing as much cardio as you possibly can, I don't mean being there for 2 hours. Not gonna happen, right? There's always that law of diminishing returns. We wanna make sure that we're doing 45 minutes, at least 30 to 45 minutes, easy. I did this with my brother actually. I was like, hey, I prescribed him 30 minutes of cardio. And then one day he's like, is there a amount of cardio that's too much? I'm like, yes and no, what's up? And he's like, well, and he sends me a picture and he's got the picture of his cardio because he was sending me basic updates of his training. It said 56 minutes and some seconds. I was like, oh shoot. I'm like, was that hard? He's like, well, no, I kind of just looked up and realized that it was 56 minutes. I was listening to his music, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Here's the thing. You have enough fat on your body and you're eating enough calories that you can still lose fat and cardio is not going to work against you. So I was like, do this for as long as you possibly can and then pull it back. And he did it for a complete month, and that's how I came up with my cardio blitz. Again, when it comes down to it, when you're in a deficit, we're not in an extreme deficit, we're only in a 10 to 20% decrease or deficit. So as long as we're eating enough protein and fats and carbs in that deficit, we have enough body fat to sustain energy. So don't worry about cardio. Don't worry about cardio burning your muscle away. It's not going to happen. Now, if you start doing 2 hours of cardio, guess what? It's going to work against you. And no one's doing 2 hours of cardio anyway. So if you're intermediate or advanced, do 30 to 45 minutes. And if you can push that hour, then push it. Why not? But you're doing zone 2 cardio. You should be able to walk on a treadmill, step on a stepper, even on elliptical, and have a conversation with the buddy next to you or the girl next to you. I don't care. Either way, you should be able to hold a conversation. That way you're not doing too aggressive of cardio. And every once in a while, if you want to throw in a HIIT training session here and there, go ahead and do that. We're going to maximize fat loss. Now, rest and recover. When it comes down to it, recovery is going to be pretty easy for you. If you're choosing a split that's like 3 days a week, guess what? You have those other days to rest. And if you're doing like a 6-day split, then I would suggest, taking a break every 3 days. Now, when it comes down to it, rest and recovery isn't just about taking that day off. It's actually about getting enough sleep. Getting enough sleep, 6 to 8 hours of well-rested sleep is where we're going to burn a lot of those calories. You'll literally sleep and vaporize fat off you. Literally, that's how it happens. Make sure we get enough rest is quintessential for this entire process. A couple things to wrap this up. The biggest tool you'll need this entire process is just being patient. If you follow this, it will actually work. The reason why most of these plans don't work, especially when I give you something as easy, simple, as free as this is because said person A just can't wait long enough. They say, I'm gonna make this faster. I'm gonna eat way less calories than that plays against you. Or worse, they quit. So just put it this way. Commit to this for at least a month. Just commit to it for a month and I promise you, you will see results in a month. You will see fat loss in a month if you do exactly what I said. You will see it, I promise you, but you cannot stop. You have to continue. Be patient. Learn delayed gratification. Look for these small wins. Make sure that you continue consistently with it. Adjust the plan when you need to. If you start to lose fat and you plateau, first of all, be happy you plateaued. Why? Because you were losing fat. Sweet. And you start losing fat and you plateaued, guess what you do now? Say if you're losing fat as a beginner and you're doing 3 days a week of training and 3 days a week of cardio and your cardio is only 20 minutes, guess what you're gonna do? You're just gonna add another 10 minutes to your cardio. You're not gonna drop your calories even more. We're gonna go to the place where you have the most room to grow or to move, and that'll be like your cardio. So simple. If you're a beginner, you're doing 20 minutes to 30 minutes of cardio. If you're a beginner, you're doing 3 days a week of cardio and it's only 20 minutes, you're adding another 10 minutes. If you're intermediate or advanced and you're doing 4+ days of cardio and you're only doing 30 minutes or 45 minutes, you just add 10 minutes at a time. Do that 10 minutes for the week, add that 10 minutes for the week, check the app, see how you're going. Oh my God, look, I lost another pound. And you keep doing that and adjust your plan as you go. Eventually, you want to decrease calories, but you don't want to do that yet. Move first before we start decreasing calories. It's better to have the fuel to be able to move than move without any fuel. Now, 5 things you want to avoid 100%. Number one, avoid making drastic changes. Again, if you plateau, be patient and make a small change. Don't change everything at once. Again, 2, don't rely just on cardio either. When I said, go to the place where you have the most room and that's cardio, do that, but don't overdo your cardio. Trust me on that. If you get to a place where you're doing way too much cardio, it will play against you. What will it do? It will just make you extremely hungry and make it harder for you to actually stay within your diet. So don't rely just on cardio. Remember, when you're making adjustments, make them from both sides. Try a little bit from one side first with cardio, and then try a little bit from nutrition. Don't just do one or the other, or hack away your calories, or do way too much cardio, which I highly doubt most people do too much cardio. But it comes down to supplements are not the answer, but they will help you for sure. Yes, you could take a fat burner, like something like, with caffeine in it. What's it gonna do? It's gonna drive your heart rate up a little bit and help you burn a little more calories, but you actually have to do the work, right? Whether you decide to take Ozempic or a fat burner, whatever it is, you still have to do everything we've already talked about. So don't just rely thinking that supplements are gonna be the game changer for you. They are the tool to add to what you are doing. They will help increase the overall results, not replace the hard work. And to close things off, let's do a little bit of recap. Eat in a slight caloric deficit, prioritize protein and strength train. Consistency and patience are a non-negotiable. And if you're just starting your journey and you think you might need a little more help than this, then guys, hit the link in the description below, johnnyshfitness.com, fill out an application and jump on a 50-minute video call with myself and we will go over your goals and see what we can achieve together. Now, if you're like, hey Johnny, coaching releases in my budget, great. Then you can join my Iron Light program, which is only $25 a month. And there's a 7-day trial where you can try out my app, try out exactly what I said. And then at the end of that, if you want to keep going with it, then you go with it. Also, to help you out with your training and your goals, use my code Johnny10 for 10% off BlueStarNutraceuticals.com. And until next time, guys, you know how it is. Iron sharpens iron, progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace.